What up, Craig?
Hey, Jason. How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. I think that you know who the guest is, and I'm so excited I can't even sit still.
Ooh.
Look,
You got the wiggle waggles.
wiggle waggles. Who is it?
Dude, so today we're talking marketing millions, easy 5 secret strategy with the master, Bobby Stocks.
Oh, man.
Let's jump in.
Welcome to the Insurance Dudes, a podcast for insurance agency owners helping us to think of different ways to optimize our business and our lives.
Bobby Stocks. He's great.
That's good.
That wall behind you is hilarious.
It's actually my office. Yeah. I mean, it's Puerto Rico, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's no Puerto Rico as a background, but my 12-year-old self would have loved it.
I think your whatever number self loves it too. That's awesome. Welcome, man. Welcome, Bobby. It's awesome to have you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, great talking to you. We talked to, so we're all state agents. I don't know if you know, we're all state agents. So we're in the captive world. I know you primarily deal with the independent world, but
To some extent.
I love your story. So, and I know a lot of people, well, there's 2 groups that probably listen to this. One who really knows who you are, and then a whole bunch of people who don't. So who's the dude, Bobby Stocks? Tell us about your background, man.
Yeah, so if anybody doesn't know, I do a lot of lead generation currently, and I've mentored a lot of guys in the insurance space, Nick Ayers and Nato, and some other service providers like Bill Somerville and all that. I know he works with a lot of Allstate agents. Former data-lot slave. But yeah, I was talking to Bill yesterday. But before I got into lead generation online, I worked in the restaurant business from the time I was 14 until 29. So I was a slave of that business for a long time. And in 2012, I got out of that and really was just trying to look for, some kind of business or something to do that I could build myself instead of working the standard 9 to 5 and, getting my my 2-week vacation type gig. And that landed me kind of like mistakenly fell into marketing. I bought a dog, and at that point I was just throwing, the proverbial crap against the wall, trying to figure out what to do. I bought a dog. At that point, I started selling. I was trying to sell life insurance at the time, and I bought this pit bull. I put a fence up for the dog. A buddy of mine joked around that I would start a fencing company, which is exactly what I did. And I remember I put up an ad on Craigslist and totally forgot about it. And 2 weeks later, I get this email, and it's a guy asking for a fence quote off of my Craigslist ad. And I remember looking at my wife and just going like, oh my God. I have no idea what I'm doing. The fence that I put up was like, it was like a snake, crossing into my neighbor's property line and then back into mine. I went out and I told the guy the truth. I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I had just quit my job as a head chef and was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I showed him a couple pictures of my fence on my phone, and he said, I'll give you $150 a day to put it up. And that's how I started into, working for myself. And the problem I think that obviously all business owners run into is you have this business and then it's, where are the customers, right? Where am I going to actually sell my product to? And that's how I started getting interested in teaching myself marketing. And that was, right around May, June 2012. I think I ran my first Facebook ad in the fall 2012. And that's what got me into lead generation, primarily on Facebook.
That's awesome. Dude, and I'm from the restaurant industry too. I had,
Me too.
in my 20s, it was like, dude, I hit this like rock bottom for myself. Wasn't working and needed to get into something. And I just got off my butt and started as a busser, worked my way up, bartender and stuff. And that's what I did before insurance. So that's why I love that part of your story. It's like, I mean, anybody, like, and when you're in those positions, you feel, especially the restaurant industry, you feel like there's no way out.
Yeah.
Like it's a grind.
I worked under so many chefs that were like there was like, they were stuck, like guys that are like 50, completely like, divorced like 10 times, pacemaker. And they would just always say like, what are you doing, kid? Like, get the hell out of here. And, when you're that young and it's a great cash job, you're like, I love what I'm doing. This is great. The bar is right there and I can just drink for free. I love this job. So, yeah.
So how did you get into, you got into Facebook leads. So you're primarily into more of the mortgage lead sector, I would say. Take us through how did go, social media leads for fences go into mortgage? So,
so I started teaching myself Facebook ads. 2014 is the first time I ever took like an internet marketing training outside of YouTube. YouTube was like my go-to on how to like just learn how to do anything back then, even fences.
Mm-hmm.
So 2014, my cousin who was in the real estate industry in California, he messages me and he says, you got to get on this webinar right now. I think you can use this for your fencing company. So I get on a webinar and it's Ryan Stewman and this other guy called Tim Shermack. Me and Tim Shermack are still really close today. And Tim was doing real estate marketing and, we all know Ryan was doing mortgage real estate marketing. And that was like the first time that I was exposed to the like hyper aggressive, high level, like real estate marketing thinking. And I started to implement that stuff. Like I went to Ryan's like very first Break Free Academy, which is where I met my partner today, Rob Seckel. And, I'm just surrounded by real estate guys, insurance guys, because that's his whole crew was mortgage, real estate, insurance. And, here I am, I'm like, well, I've sold some life insurance policies, but I'm here because I build fences. And I started implementing like their stuff into my fencing advertising, which absolutely crushed it. I mean, within a couple of years, like we had multiple trucks and a warehouse and all from Facebook. But my group of peers were all insurance guys, mortgage, real estate. So fast forward to 2016, when I really got that my business needs to be marketing, and like if I'm going to build a business, it should be a marketing business rather than anything else, because that's what I'm best at. I started getting into, being like an agency for hire. And I was in a bunch of different niches. I was doing stuff in the medical niche, this, that, and the other. And, bottom line, I was trying to do all these other things. And I had like a dozen mortgage guys and insurance guys constantly hitting me up. And I was just like, all right, I'll just go into this niche because these guys won't leave me alone. So that's really where it started. I mean, today I would actually say probably less than 20% of my business comes from that, but that's what I'm known for. So like we have a whole division that does that, and then we do a lot of other stuff now. But that's really like where I just sank into mortgage. It was just out of sheer demand, between that and the insurance guys. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then how did you take that? Because I think for people too, that they don't realize like, okay, what online marketing agency or whatever, like how do you make money and how do you scale it? Where did you go from there?
Yeah. So we started with that. And it was just pretty basic. We generated leads for mortgage guys. And then we started picking up insurance guys, and we would generate leads for the insurance guys so that they could give them to their mortgage guy. Now, mind you, like back in 2016, 2017, I was like, why is somebody paying me money to generate leads for another guy? It was still kind of clicking for me, how valuable that is for an insurance agency to grow. And now I just see like the miracles it can do for people once they, partner with the right brokers and things like that. Develop those relationships in the right way. But it grew from there and just trying to solve problems all along the way. I think that's like all successful businesses make money by solving problems and not running from them. And we built a software company, and now we have a follow-up software with predictive dialing and force dialing and all types of CRM things. And we just built that out of that. And that's grown to a 7-figure software company. And we have some other products rolling out. And then that just rolled into, so I make money through different ways. I have my agency. We generate leads in the mortgage industry, the roofing industry, the personal injury industry. We have our software company. And then I started running advertising for other online coaches in a multitude of different industries. So mortgage, insurance, I run NATO's whole program on the back end and market it. So we started helping other coaches and consultants market their business. And then that's grown. So we've grown 2 years to, this year we'll hit 8, possibly 10 figures in revenue from going all that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's just been like a rocket.
And tell us about your move to Puerto Rico. Living the dream, man. I love it.
Yes. So a couple of years ago, I was consulting for Tim Shermack. And if anybody, Tim Shermack is a freaking genius in real estate marketing. He's not too known in the internet world, but he has an agency in South Florida. I don't know how, he's got something like 200 plus real estate agents that he markets for, all like top guys. I was down there doing some consulting with him, and he's a hardcore libertarian. And basically he was like, hey man, like you're going to start making a lot of money, and I know that you're not going to want to pay a lot of taxes on that money because you're kind of a libertarian like me. And he said, if I could do it all over again, I would have actually moved to Puerto Rico. And he said, and that's where he explained to me, in Puerto Rico, there's a 4% corporate tax rate. So just straight 4%, no federal, nothing like that. So the most you're going to pay is 4%. And I always had on my vision board, which was a little, notebook piece of paper that I had scotch taped to my wall when I was living in West Philly, was me and my wife always wanted to have a house in the Caribbean. So we linked those two together and we said, you know what, let's look at what it would take to move to Puerto Rico. And I've been down here for coming up, we're at 1.5 years now. So coming up on 2 years. Paying 4%. I got the ocean in the background over there. So
yeah. Look at Craig's drooling.
I'm headed to Kauai in a few days, so ready
cool
for the island.
The cool thing about where I'm at here, this is like the east side of the island. There's a ton of entrepreneurs down here.
Really?
Yeah. So John Lee Dumas lives like, no lie, at the end of my street. Like,
No way.
I've been over there playing cards. I saw him yesterday, like walking. There's just a lot of internet marketers and big businesses here. Like the guy who does all compliance for every insurance agency in Texas. I don't know. His company's like $60 million. He's like my neighbor. And they run the whole operation from down here. So yeah, there's just all types of interesting entrepreneurs. Mario Brown, which I don't know if that name rings a bell, but he's like an OG internet marketer. But yeah, it's like this little like pod of not just online, but just entrepreneurs that are looking to not pay as much taxes.
That's crazy. I bet. Do you guys all hang out at the same places?
Yeah. So there's like Friday nights, there's like a poker game, and I suck at poker, so I've gone a couple times, and JLD's there just like crushing people in poker. He's really good in poker. But yeah, everybody just hangs out. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love that because it's like, you're working in the restaurant business, and then now you're doing those things that people go, I wish I would have done that. Or if I did it all over again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had to work through like 3+ years of trying to, go paycheck to paycheck and figure out Facebook ads and,
But you did it. You implemented.
But I did it,
right?
and I'm not flipping burgers anymore.
It wasn't thinking about it. It wasn't bitching about it. It was actually taking action, which is what's so critical. And so many people sit on the sidelines, and they don't pull the trigger. They don't take action.
Yep.
And I know, like, this story was very, I was building fences, 7-figure, but I know that there was some up and down in there. I'd like to hear, because in the insurance world, there's a ton of shiny object syndrome, right? Where it's like, I bought these leads, they suck, I'm done. I'm going to move to something else. And they just keep throwing money out at the next shiny object and never really trying to test and work through. What did you do? Because I know that it wasn't, you obviously didn't fall for the shiny object. You
Definitely. Yeah. So when I shut down my fencing company, in the end of 2015, jumped in and I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. Completely went broke, right? I mean, broke. Like, is today the day they're going to come for my truck?
Right.
And that day did come. That day did actually come. And at that point, I was in the shiny object, right? And I think it's just human nature to think like, okay, there's going to be this thing that's going to fix the inside problem, right? And for me, really, it was, I wasn't ready to just trust myself that I could build this thing back up like I did before, right? And I remember I got like halfway into 2016 and completely dead broke. And, my biggest supporter in growing my business is my wife. And she is a supporter, and she'll pat me on the back when I need it. And then she'll threaten to kick me the hell out of the house when I need it. And,
I got one of them.
Yeah. And she was like, look, I love you. Don't take this as anything else, but unless you make $1,200, this was in June of 2016. She said, unless you make $1,200 next month, which covers like our bills, covers half of our bills, I'm going to sleep on the couch and then for a week. And if at the end of that week you don't have it, I'm going to move to my parents' house, which was 20 minutes away. And she's like, because you just need something to get you out of this funk of inaction and like buying more stuff. Like I was like, I was just running around credit cards. Like, I'm going to this conference, going to buy this program. Like, just instead of just breaking it down and keeping it simple, And as soon as she said that, man, boom, that was the fire. And I said, all right, forget everything. What can I do today to make $100? Right? And it's like, for insurance, what can I do today to either sign like the simplest policy or to talk to somebody that could lead me to signing some sort of policy, right? That's it. Like, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not thinking about learning this SEO stuff that's like going to be really important in my business 6 months from now, right? Because we're always buying stuff that's like going to be important. And when when everything else is cleared out and you got to perform, it's always about forget tomorrow, what can I do today? And that's what I started doing. I said, how can I make $100 today? And everything I did focused on that end objective. And, you know, it came the day that I needed the money, and I made $1,300. So I had $100 for myself. And that was the momentum. And I felt like, okay, you know, like, yeah, it's not a lot of money, and I've been shooting for the stars and making nothing. And the next month I just stuck to the same thing, and I made $2,500 the next month. And then the next month I made like close to $4,000. And that's really where it started taking off. And where I exploded, right? Because I got stuck in that like 5 to 10K range, and started to like sink in a little bit more on that. So it was the end of 2016. And I just like kept saying how I wanted to build this big agency, right? What it was going to look like when I had staff. And, you know, she heard me going right back into this again. Like the what it's going to look like, not the what am I going to do today to build that. And
you plateaued, you were comfortable.
Right. You're comfortable again.
Comfortable, and you're at capacity.
Yep. Yeah, totally at capacity. I mean, I couldn't add clients, and I was doing everything here. And this is the biggest key thing, and it fits in every single business. I mean, I would say like all the stuff like on our consulting side, we teach all these guys all these cool tactics, and all those, like, here's the inside. All those tactics are meaningless, right? That's just bait for us to pull somebody in and then say, what are you doing in these 5 things? So I call it the 5 pillars of business. And I was taught this, it's starting to rain here. I was taught this by my CTO, who's a certified genius. He actually like has his Mensa thing on his wall. But he is very partner of mine. He does all the operations, built amazing systems for us. 5 pillars of business. You got to do all 5 parts of this business to successfully scale, right? And first one's marketing, sales. Then you have delivery, client retention, or, you know, client happiness. You could also wrap like referrals into that, and finances, right? Super simple. He said that's basically what he got out of a master's degree from college, is those 5 things, right? And most of us are doing all of those, or we're doing all those, and some of them were just not, like finances. I was like, I don't freaking know, you know? And that was the problem, is that there's nobody specialized and passionate taking care of the bottlenecks, right? So for me, what would happen is, why I kept stuck at 5 to 10 was I generate leads for myself, and I'm not a very good sales guy. I can sell an idea, I can't close it. So I would generate all these leads, all these prospects, just like you said, like get all these leads nobody wants to buy. These leads suck, right? The reality was I couldn't close. And I would beat myself up over it. I would, you know, buy more sales courses. I would go to Grant Cardone's thing, come back, generate more leads, right? I had that new motivation, like, all right, you know, I just read this book, like I've been practicing in the mirror, I'm going to close this, go in, not close, go through another 50 freaking booked consultations, not close a person, waste all this money, time, energy in the process, and then go back into like feeling really sorry about myself and angry, and, you know, I've been sold up a river and all this, whatever stories will come up. Reality was I had no business trying to sell. And so my wife really shook me up about this. She said, either be happy at 5, at your whatever level you are, you can only handle this many clients, and that's it. Cool, great. You know, like in comparison to what most people are making, you're making a good living and you're working from home. Or if you actually want to do this, stop talking about it and start doing it. Like you have she said, you have 24 hours to tell me what your decision is.
Man, heard her deadlines.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
Clarity, man.
Well, she's done a lot of like coaching and stuff like that. She was she was like a startup, helped a startup and grew it to like 50 million and all types of stuff. So she's like type A personality. And, you know, she gave me 24 hours. I came back and I did the same thing again, right? I was like, I'm going to do this. And I got right back down to what am I doing today to build this? That's it. Like nothing else. Really coming down. What am I doing? What am I just going to do today to build this up? And that's where it started off. Like that was December of 2016, and January of 2017, I made $30,000.
That's awesome.
So the big shifts that I did was I started taking action every single day, and I looked at this idea of what's keeping my business shrunk and stuck, and it was sales. Like number one thing was sales. I can generate leads. I can deliver on the work. I can kind of deal with the clients. I'm not going to worry about finances right now because I ain't got none, right? And it was sales, right? And then I just got creative because what I see a lot of entrepreneurs fall into is I can't afford to hire X, right? I can't hire this position until I have enough money. But the problem is that they're never going to have enough money, right?
Right.
They can't afford not to hire them, right?
Right.
It's the opposite.
So I found a sales guy that was selling during the day, and I said, look, do you want to make extra money? I'll give you 20% commission recurring for life on these monthly premiums. And he was like, hell yeah, send them over. And so I didn't have to come out of pocket any money. Like, I wasn't under pressure to like create all this, I have to like get this guy enough leads because it's a full-time job. How am I going to get somebody to leave their job? I didn't have to do any of that, right? So as soon as I was clear on what I was doing, the solutions to my problems started to appear. And that's how I started out. And from that point on, I've stuck to that mentality. Where's the bottleneck in my business right now that's keeping me from growing? And how can I get somebody in there? And more importantly, how can I get somebody in there and that's their zone of genius? Because what I realized is that I'm great at marketing. I'm okay at delivery. So I call it the way I use a lot of analogies to understand things. And, everybody has a dominant and a non-dominant hand, just like a good, boxer's got his jab, he's got his hook, he's got whatever. And I believe most people are good at two of those pillars, right? So you got marketing, sales, delivery, retention, finances. And most people are good at two of them, but there's always one that they're really, really dominant in. And if you look in the beginning, I did marketing, delivery, and I filled sales. And then we started selling, what happened was I started marketing better because now I didn't have to experience the letdown of not closing, right? So now I'm just like, I'm having fun because I'm good at this. I love doing it and I can just do it all day long. And the sales guy's like, I love closing. There's so many sales guys that are trying to be marketers. They're trying to be other things and they're just as stuck because they're sitting there trying to learn all this stuff all day long and they can't even figure out, how to send an email. Right. And that's like the best sales guys, because I got a big sales staff now. The best sales guys, they're usually pretty tech dumb. They're all over the place. So I just started filling in those parts of the pillars as the company grew. And that's what allowed us to scale really fast. And I found people that were they love that part. Because just like me being broke because I was trying to do all 5 of these pillars, there's just as many extremely excellent people out there that are broke because they're trying to do all 5 pillars, but they're great in another pillar. One of my partners, her entire job is client retention. Because for me, and the insurance guy is probably the same thing, it's keeping those clients in your company, right, long term. That's what makes me money, because I spend so much money to acquire clients, right? I'm losing money to acquire clients. So a big bulk of my business has to be, how do we keep them? I have 2 partners, and one of my main partners, that's her only job. And she's amazing at it. She loves it. She geeks out on client retention books and all that stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know, for me, though, I remember last time she was like, I can't take any of these calls. I'm sick. I fired one of the clients, and she messages me. She's like, you're never, ever taking my client calls, because I could have at least got another 5 months out of that guy. And that's just, it's not my zone. So really it's understanding that, and it's any business. If you can get inside your zone of genius, you'll have fun in business. You'll grow fast. I always say I could have fun owning a Q-tip business as long as I stayed in marketing. If they got me in the other areas, next thing you know, I'm looking for a different business model. I feel discontent, burnout, and all this other stuff comes up. And then that's where the shiny objects start coming in place, right? That's where it's like, maybe I could go sell real estate, or maybe I could, it's just, something outside to fix it, instead of just looking at, well, why am I unhappy right now? Well, it's probably because I'm doing everything. I'm doing a bunch of stuff I don't like doing, and that's why I'm unhappy. Pretty simple.
It is pretty simple.
It seems like a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners have the ego, and that can get in the way. And they want to do everything because they're the guy or they're the gal, right? And I have to have control, right? Something that you said way back in this little section was really, really striking to me. And it's your self-awareness, right? You have a very, very high level of self-awareness and are willing to accept that you're not good at this thing, right? And in fact, it makes your life better to not be good at it.
Dude, I got to a spot where I was like, I suck. And it was like empowering to be like, well, here's the thing, right? It's like, it's that control. I want to control every part of my business. I hear it. Nobody's as good as me at all these different parts. And it's such a lie. And the second, I realized how the part that I was really good at, I'm world class at this. It allowed me to say, I suck at the rest.
Yeah.
Right. And I can own that I'm world class at that. And in my business, it's like, that's my duty. If I drop the ball on that, then now I take responsibility for that. The rest of it, you don't want me in there.
And how often does somebody drop the ball on something they love?
Right.
It doesn't happen.
Yep.
It's not going to happen. So that's amazing. Love it, man.
Yeah. Usually it because it's a passion thing. As soon as it's not a passion thing, it's work. It's like, you're going to try to avoid it. Everybody tries to avoid those things in our life that we don't like to do. And to your point, it's just, dude, it's super simple. Everything that you said is super simple. Why don't we all think that way or implement that way? It's crazy. I think it's right. I think you're right, though. I think it is ego. Ego's
just pissed off a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's you get so afraid this is your thing. You're so afraid that people are gonna take it, or you're gonna train somebody up and they're gonna leave. That was one thing that I really had to come up against in the beginning, because I'm hiring. My last business, if I look back on what did I do wrong in it, that caused me a lot of stress was, I had like one solid employee and that could be shaky. And everybody else, it's like, I think I just chronically hired people that were like, they weren't challenging to me, right? Like I hired people that I knew couldn't go out and build the same business. And that was
like
my
self-sabotage, almost like self-sabotaging kind of.
Yeah. I mean, like today it's like, you should hire people that literally you think have a good shot of actually competing with you.
Abundance versus scarcity, right? You were holding it all so close. I don't want anybody to have my ideas. As soon as you let that go, I'm going to bring in somebody that's a Mensa, right? And boom.
Yeah. So it's like, it's totally like that. And, just like, because people leave you when from an employee standpoint or from a partner standpoint, it's like, if you're hiding their talents because you're afraid they're going to leave, you then create a situation where they're likely to leave, right? Because they're not being appreciated, they're being undervalued, and there's an opposite effect to that. I have like a lot of the people on here. I put like a lot of my staff on the last 2 Comma Club that we got, and I know because they're on that, they're going to get hit up by 1 million people. My partners have gotten hit up by 1 million people trying to steal them away. And they're just like, nah, we're cool. We're going to stay here.
That's awesome.
So it's had like the opposite effect than, what I see most people do.
So, and I think that's a very interesting part is the hiring. So how did you go from hiring one way, which I think is the most common, probably the 90%. How did you change into the 10% that hire in a growth abundance mindset kind of way?
I think, I'd love to give you like an elaborate answer. and I really just think I was just done operating, the way that I had been. And I just went to I went to the far opposite end. Now I've come back, right? As we've gotten bigger, we're like, okay, we need some hiring processes, let's vet a little bit. Let's just not all go off of the gut. But, in the beginning there, it was like, if the person seemed passionate to me, like I could tell that they were passionate about it. They had a little bit of an underdog story. I like in the beginning, I would not hire anybody that was like young meaning like early 20s that was coming right out. Like, I'm like, nah, man, I want people that got something to prove, that, have already like screwed around a little bit. And now they're ready to really go after their goals, and they want to do it in an atmosphere where they know very clearly, like, look, you're only going to be doing this. This is what you're good at. Anytime you try to do this over here, I'm going to slap your hand and move you right back into here. And and that was it. And just having that mentality and like those conversations helped me to attract really, really high level people. Because I was simplifying their life too. And my whole process was based around making sure that they were in that zone that kept them most happiest.
Yeah. That's awesome.
If you had to do it all over and change one thing, what would you do? What would you change?
So for me, my company's our weakest point's always been sales, which is funny, but we're so good at lead generation processes, client retention, that it's made up for it. If I would have had to do it all over again, I would have really, really been actively looking for either probably a partner who's just unbelievable sales trainer and builder, from the get-go, because I've seen the difference like a top world-class salesperson can make in your business. And it's unbelievable. Like I've seen the craziest metrics, like especially when you have driving leads coming in. I mean, it can be like, you know, the difference between having a decent month to like having like multiple six-figure months just with one guy. By placing a guy like that in, you're like, holy smokes. We had this one guy that we brought on last summer, closed 50% of people that he talked to. And this is at like high ticket.
Wow.
I could not believe it. Like I was like,
You still have them?
yeah.
Good.
And when you look at the metrics and stuff like that, when you really like break that stuff down on a spreadsheet and you see it literally can double or triple your business overnight. And yeah, so sales is, in any business, obviously sales is huge, but finding that right person, I put intention to it, but not at the level that, you know, I needed, because I leaned so much on, all right, well, if the marketing's good enough, that's going to make up for that. Right. And then I've just like had a lot of like ragtag, you know, guys that thrown in there. So yeah, that would be the one thing that I would fix. And that's like what we've been focusing on big time over the last like 6-7 months is getting the right people in place with that.
Having that master salesman. What percentage of your business has to be closed and by a salesperson, by a human, and how much? Because obviously, in the insurance or in the internet world, we love nothing more than where they click and buy, right? Because it's.
So I'm old school. I love, as much as I hate sales, I love phone, like closing stuff over the phone. So besides our software and even our software company, like after this, I'm building out a sales campaign where it's just straight demo to sales. Almost all of my stuff is done over the phone. So, you know, like, I don't know how many, last year I probably generated like 10,000 pre-booked phone conversations for our business, like something crazy. But I just find like I've built systems where like people buy without ever having to talk to somebody. And I've always experienced a lot of complexity in getting those to scale and to last long-term, and to really eke out. Like, that's the thing. It's like, if you have one of these good sales guys, man, you can get so much ROI out of that instead of trying to go through all the complexity to get it to convert without ever having to talk to anybody. And again, it goes back to zones of genius. Who's trying to figure out how to create all these systems where nobody has to talk on the phone? Somebody who can't sell, right? So it's either put in tons and tons of work and testing and time and lose all this money trying to figure it out, or just go find somebody you can sell.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are looking for that set it and forget. I mean, we talk about this all the time, the set it and forget it. Everybody wants that silver bullet. It's like, when it comes down to it, like you said, if somebody can produce that much return, I mean, it pays for themselves and 10 times, tenfold.
Yeah. And here's the other caveat that I've found, because I've been in this long enough, is that like my CMO, he had an internet business. It was him and like 2 VAs living in Thailand, making like 60, 70K a month, huge profit margins, all by himself. Now he's my CMO. Why? The idea of like making all this money just yourself and sitting around, I know a lot of guys that have done it and they're like, it sucks. I'm lonely. I miss having like team members. I miss working in an office environment. You know, I miss having interaction and the energy that comes from everybody working to make something work. You know, the team effect.
Yeah. That's our innate behavior. I always tell people, like, everybody wants to not work and stuff. And I'm like, dude, we're like, the innate behavior of a male especially is like, that's part of what we're hunter gatherers. Like, we got to be a part of that. Like, I mean, it doesn't, money aside, like at the end of the day, if you're sitting around doing nothing, you're going to feel like crap. And that's kind of where I was before I started working in the restaurant business. I felt horrible. It was the worst feeling ever. I never want to go back there. I'd rather work for minimum wage, work 90 hours a week. It's like, it's crazy. So Bobby, first off, we should have said this at the beginning. Your name isn't even Bobby Stocks. I love that story. Can you tell that story for the umpteenth time? I know.
Yeah. Dude, my coffee's over here. I'm like dying. Yeah, so basically, shiny object syndrome. I'm in the restaurant business. I'm trying to figure out how the hell I can make enough money to get out of the restaurant business. Like, I'm looking for that bridge, which is another myth that I've never seen. The easy transition from working a job to owning a business. You know, there's always like this idea. It's like, well, I'm going to generate enough income so that like I can comfortably sail off into, you know, my ideal future. Yeah, I started like, I was sitting in a coffee shop, two guys sitting behind me. This is in 2008. And I'm overhearing these guys talk about stocks. And this one guy says, Franny and Fannie Mae is going to buy my house, right? So after the stock market crash or whatever, and I'm like, so I'm getting a stock tip from this guy, just eavesdropping. I go home, I take my $3,000 that I have, and I sign up for E-Trade, and I move it into Freddie and Fannie Mae. And at the time, they were at like 30 cents, 36 cents. And I sold after it was over $1. Because that stock took off like within 60 days at that time. And I was hooked. I was like, I got in. That's all I did, man. It was like I went to work, I came home, and I sat there studying stock market, got into penny stocks, and that's where I got the name Stocks from. Because all my buddies just started, I would show up, and they'd be like, Stocks. And it just kind of stuck from there. So people would call me, like when I first got online, I remember I was at Stuman's thing, and they were like, what the hell's your name? Is it Bob Scott or is it Bobby Stocks? And I was like, I don't know. They were like, you need to choose an identity, bro. And I just ended up going with the other thing, and because I was like, whatever. People online are crazy, so I might as well use a different name. But yeah, when I married my wife, some of her family from the West Coast actually thought my last name was Stocks. So like the envelopes at the wedding were like Mr. and Mrs. Stocks, and I'm like, oh my God.
What did your wife?
She is
Yeah.
funny. Yeah. Surprisingly, my mom thinks it's funny. Like, she was like, so yeah, that's how that, but I made and lost a ton of money in the stock market. At the end of the day, I did not win. You know, I lost like 4 years of my life and definitely a lot of money. So
Brutal.
Not one for me. I'll stick to marketing.
Yeah.
Bobby Stocks, thank you, man. This has been awesome. How can they find you? How can somebody find your website? Is it called
Yeah, BobbyStocks.com. I'm old school, so like if you go to Instagram, you're gonna see like 20 photos of me smoking 20 different cigars. So there's not much to see on Instagram. Just Facebook, Bobby Stocks. At Facebook, send me a message if you have any questions. Yeah.
Awesome.
You want to talk for a quick second about what products and what services?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, if you're, you know, we do done for you marketing for mortgage, and you know, we do some insurance guys. Our software is great. If you generate any kind of leads online, and you want to.
Did we lose you? Or is it suspense?
This could be a marketing ploy.
This
and you want to
voicemail drop.
We lost you there for a second. You
Tell me when I'm
froze?
back.
All right.
That's
Oh,
that's that Puerto Rico internet right there.
dude, it was genius though. The timing of it was like suspense. Good.
Yeah, so our software does voicemail, text, email, but it also has a lot of other features, right? So it does round robin. So if you have a sales team, it also gives you like deep analytics on what's your average response time. How long is it actually taking you to respond back to a lead that either responded to your text, responded to your email, or called you? How long is it taking you to respond back to them? Really great to track your salespeople and see what they're doing. It does forced lead calling. Lead comes in, bang, calls you right away, whispers to you. You connect to the call. Predictive dialing. They've just added a bunch of other stuff. Call recording so that you can record your sales calls and get better at them. And we have a lot of new features that we're launching with that, which include internal, like end-to-end system, meaning you can set up your landing pages, your messenger bots, and all that stuff inside the system, connect it directly to your follow-up, and connect it directly to an appointment calendar, and fire all your pixels and everything in that. And we've been in beta with it right now, and we are getting unbelievable cheap leads and booked calls because everything's in one place. You don't need Zapier. You don't need to learn all this other stuff. You have one system. It does outbound. If you want to help your LOs get more referral partners, bring your LO in. We also white label it, and we give, you can white label the system yourself, hook in your own Twilio and your own stuff, and actually have your own software company, pay us one flat fee, and go out and charge your referral partners and take all that premium for yourself. So we've really been building this monster system that we're basically going to try to compete with ClickFunnels, but on the lead generation side, for the real estate mortgage, small business owner who's generating leads, so that you can streamline the whole process, get all your people under it, and also make money on it. If you want to build your own software company, we're basically letting you lease or rent our platform. You own the users, and you can charge whatever you want for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Insurance dude's phone system coming soon.
Yeah, we got a bunch of guys already in there. Coaching programs, we have one, but if you're insurance, the two that I recommend, both guys that are inside my mastermind, and I also personally run their campaigns on our, we have a big division that does content, copy, and run campaigns, is Nick Ayers and Nato. Nick for YouTube, freaking dude's hilarious and he's a beast. Nato's just an animal at building referral partnerships. Nato actually gave me his last $1,500 like a year and a half ago, and he was completely done. And I know this year, his agency, his cluster won, $1 Million Club and all that. And that's just straight working referral partnerships.
Wow,
and
that's cool.
Yeah. So working referral partnerships with the right guys,
Sounds good, man. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people hitting you up.
For sure.
Craig, anything else? Any last minute nuggets?
Just really appreciative. I mean, grateful that you said yes, and it's just awesome. So maybe we'll have you back for a part 2 if you're up for it.
Yeah, man.
But we've had Ayers on there. We have not had Nato. Maybe the introduction would be.
Dude, Nato is like definitely top 1% sales guy.
That's awesome.
Good to talk to.
Yeah, he is an animal at sales. And he's done what I like about Nato is there's a lot of insurance courses out there. And Nick and Nato are both guys that are actively growing and scaling their insurance business. They're not just coaching, right? I've watched Nato when he joined our coaching thing that was just randomly for ad agencies over a year and a half ago, go from that to a place where, they're consistently signing new 100,000 in new business every single month, and it's him, his wife, and like another lady in a super cheap office there in Houston, and he's got the whole sales process outsourced. He can step out of the office and do whatever, and he just went and played poker for two weeks. So he's built a business where it's not dependent on him. It's lean, and it's consistently growing, right? And I think that's what we all want out of any business, right?
Yeah.
It's profit margins, and can I go on a 2-week vacation and not have to worry about the wheels
You
falling?
have leverage, right?
Yeah.
Are you building the fence, or do you have leverage?
Right.
So.
Yeah, because ultimately time is the asset.
Yeah.
Much more than money.
Yeah. Yeah. He's built out great systems with overseas VAs that are running the quotes and then dishing it up, and then the closers closing it, and then the follow. Yeah.
That's
He's
so
doing a
cool.
great job. Yeah,
We need to talk to him.
for sure.
Cool, man. Well, love to hear where you're going and everything else. So this has been a real cool business lesson more than anything, I think. But really cool, really cool. Thank you so much.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you, Bobby.
Until next time,
Till next
All
time.
right.
stay
Yeah.
frosty.
Have a good one,
Stay
brother.
dry. All
All
right,
right, see you later.
Your Insurance Dudes podcast is sponsored by Agency Vault, an industry leader in agency coaching, hiring and retaining top talent, and sales training with the 7-step trusted advisor sales framework. Are you up for the challenge? For $99, you'll get 28 days of access and an opportunity to join our private platinum coaching group. For more information, navigate to www.agencyvault.com.
Hey, thanks for checking out the Insurance Dudes. Hey, please subscribe. We got some really great stuff coming out.